Happy spring to happy spring to all of you. And I think we are in spring season, and even though it doesn't looks like it, and we have not been having opportunity to be out much, we want to wish you happy spring, and continue with a series that I started earlier in the year about keyway automation strategy. And in this series, we've been discussing organization trade off, technology stack to continue, then defining your vision and determine your tools that you have to use for your automation. In this last series, finally, right, we're focusing on defining your automation return on investment, ROI, and your implementation in terms of defining and crafting your test cases. It's very crucial to define your automation ROI to build a positive case for transitioning your team and test to QA automation. Transitioning to QA automation is a large investment, and to effectively achieve it, you will need a set of KPI metrics and consideration to calculate your return on investment, such as your business requirement, user story to be implemented, basically test case for each requirement, so any new test case that's coming through, percentage of test case that need to be automated. So it's good to know the number of test cases that need to be automated and what percentage you want to achieve. That will be part of your goal and vision. And test case complexity, so what are the complexity of the test case that you are tackling? Test case from prior requirement needed for regression. So any test case that's coming from regression. And finally, the total number of configuration that is needed for testing. If you are in an environment where you have a platform that you follow or a different cross browser, so that's something you have to consider. So the calculation for your ROI is based on the investment that you are making on building your automation set one. This will be a long process, but you might want to consider a proof of concept like a POC experimentation phase to provide a minimum return on investment to build in your team confidence in the success of this major endeavor that you're getting on. So consider the following in your calculation of your ROI. You have to consider the capability and knowledge of each automation engineer that you hire, and we talked about that in a previous in the second series, I believe, because how long it take one engineer to understand a script is different than the other. Definitely, you have to do the define the average when considering the time and the complexity of test cases. Next, you have to define a baseline of how long it takes to execute your test case manually. So you got to understand this is how long it takes my test case to execute them manually. Once you define the set of test case, you simply calculate your ROI by doing the gain minus the investment divided by the investment. So that will give you your percentage of ROI. It's usually recommended to start your automation build up with your regression test case. Regression is the process of running older tests to ensure that the new updated to a piece of software have not introduced or reintroduced previously eradicated bugs. Regression is important to the success of your software delivery. So it definitely makes sense to focus your automation on regression suit, those repeatable test cases you know you need to run all the time. You usually know how long they take for you to execute them successfully. So then go ahead and spend your time on those first for your automation. Your gain will then be calculated by how long it takes to run your automation for that suit. For example, if your regression take you 16 hours manually to run successfully, and your successful automation now lasts when you're done about 16 minutes. That's just an example. It took your QA engineer about 60 hours to design and implement the test case into your automation framework. Therefore, your ROI is around 73%. So that's a great set to start. Also, you have to consider when you're calculating your ROI new test cases. So for new test cases, you have to ensure that the QA automation has a great understanding of the future in tests and build out the automation immediately as the release is going on. In this case, you don't have any baseline of manual test case to calculate any gain, but your gain is in the speed of adding this new set of tests to your regression suite. I usually don't encourage it for new team experiment with QA automation, but for mature team, this makes sense after successfully tackle all your regression test case, sanity, and smoke tests. Most organizations that transition into QA automation, they usually set a grand vision and usually a big, huge goal for automation. It's important to have a goal for the team can work toward. Manual testing will always continue to occur. It will be your first attempt in testing your application anyway, or some scenario might never be able to get automated. Therefore, automation goal that I usually recommend it's between 60 and 80%. That's reasonable. Another consideration is the test case complexity. It's usually discouraged to focus on complex test cases at the beginning. Some test cases that are complex manually are not encouraged to explore with automation at first. They are prone for error and require huge amount of maintenance in the future. So you want to leave those alone. With automation, some test cases can be reusable. Therefore, the ROI can increase as your suite grow since you'll be using some old tests to execute the new one. Now consider the cross-browser testing when you have multiple platforms to test on. You will gain your ROI. This is also a massive gain in your coordination of test case, manual, and smoke and sanity. At this point, you have a great tool to start your automation, test automation, transition, a elaborate process, and your ROI will give your team better confidence in embarking in this automation transformation. As your implementation evolve, you gain more confidence and you can spend more time with your maintaining your test cases. Again, it has been a pleasure going through this topic. This is a very important topic in a DevOps environment and going through automation. I want to thank you for listening. I'm happy to hear your comment, and we'll be ready to continue on other topic. So please suggest other topic, comment below, and suggest other topic, and I'll be happy to hear more about your thought on this. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.